holding our ball. Root down on the back or right foot. Check the size of your ball. Check that you're not hovering over your ball. Good Tai Chi posture. Make sure your butt is tucked under. T stance. Out and to the side, L. Move the energy, bottom hand advances to go up the horse's mane. Eye level for the front hand. Sit back and sit down on that imaginary stool. Twist step. Root down on that left. Form your ball on a T stance. Bring the ball closer to your center. Step out on an L. Move the energy from the flat of your back foot. Turn the hips and waist out to the tips of your fingers. Bow stance. Sit back and sit down. That means just lower yourself, okay? Twist step. Firm down. T stance. L stance. Move the energy. Bow stance. Sit back and sit down. Twist step. Root down. T stance. L stance. Bow stance. Sit back, sit down. Twist step. Root down. T stance. We're facing the bulletin board wall, so both hips are to the bulletin board wall. When we take an L stance, we are eventually going to get to the field, okay? So out and to the side. We didn't change our direction yet. The energy moves through the system. Turn the hips and waist, and both hips have to be facing the forward foot, which should be pointing to the field. Sit back, sit down. Twist step will bring us on the line or parallel to the line, so we are directed to the bulletin board wall. Step out on an L, we are still there. Energy moves, turn the hips and waist to the clock wall, bow stance. So where we direct our body and our energy, twist step, should be important as well. That's the reason why my back is towards you, because this is going to play a big part in how we do our set or our form. Twist step, T stance, L, move the energy, bow stance. Okay, let's practice something else now. Sit back, sit down, twist step. How are we going to brush our knee? We're on a twist step. We're going to multitask in brushing our knee. Therefore, we don't hold the ball. We root down. Our right hand is higher. Our left hand is to our shoulder. We're on a T stance, and we want to get out into an L stance and eventually brush our knee. We have to multitask to bring the energy closer or center to us. We're going to do 3 things. Warm up the first, warm up the second, the left hand goes down. Together, ear and hand go down. Ear and down, ear and down. Okay? But the third thing happens. We step out on an L stance with our left heel. Here we go. Ear, hand down, heel, turn the hips and waist, brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, twist step. Left hand higher, right hand to your shoulder, T stance. We're centered. We want to multitask to brush our knee. We know we're in a T stance. We know we have to get to an L stance. Here we go, multitask. Ear, hand go down, heel go down. Turn the hips and waist, brush your knee. Sit back, sit down. Twist step, right hand higher, left hand to your shoulder, T stance. All together. Ear, hand go down, heel go down. Turn the hips and waist, brush your knee. Sit back, sit down. Twist step. Left hand higher, right hand to your shoulder. L stance. Turn the hips and waist, move the energy. Bow stance. sit back, sit down, twist step, set it up correctly, multitask, turn the hips and waist, sweep as if you're brushing your knee. Sit back, sit down, twist step, set it up, all together, turn the hips and waist, brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, twist step, T-stance, all together, turn hips and waist, brush knee. Sit back, sit down, twist step, set it up, all together, turn hips and waist, brush knee. Sit back, sit down, twist step, T-stance, all together, L stance, bow stance. At this point, both hips should be addressed to the field now, to the outward foot. Same thing with the other side. Here we go. Sit back, sit down, twist step, T-stance, L stance. Turn hips and waist fully and face the clock wall. Sit back, sit down, hold your ball on a T-stance. Okay, let's practice how we ward off. So ward off is like parting of the wild horse's mane. But when we part the wild horse's mane, if you can kind of conjure up what you're doing, your hand is going up and parting the mane of the horse that's standing in front of us. Okay, so it takes a different form. But when we ward off, as grasp the bird's tail, we're using another image where we step out and the bottom hand pushes out our opponent. Okay, we pushed out our opponent, we ward off. But can you see that when you part the wild horse's mane, you're in the same beginning stance, you are in the same second stance, L stance, but the bottom hand also advances, but you go up the horse's mane. We did not use this forearm, so don't get it mixed up, okay? So all we know when we ward off, or it's often referred to not ward off, but to grasp the bird's tail. But to get to grasping of the bird's tail, you first have to ward off your opponent. So let me just show you first, okay? This is grasping of the bird's tail. It has two sub-movements. Step out, bottom hand advances to ward off your opponent. We turn our hips and waist, we reposition our hands, and we're in a bow stance. We need to sit down and sit back. Sit down, sit back. Look back, turn at the hips and waist, contact, turn again, center of the body, push the energy out. Separate the energy, roll back and sit down. Spiral up and lunge forward. Watch the other side. Sit back, sit down. Twist step. Hold your ball, centered. Both hips are down, are in a favorable position. T stance, L stance. Bottom hand advances to ward off your opponent. Hips now in the same direction. Turn the hips and waist, reposition the hands, sit down, sit back, look back, contact, turn at the hips and waist, center of the body, push the energy through, separate, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward. Okay, let's do it together in this direction now, okay? So we are going to, okay, we're gonna practice wrong, but we're gonna, not wrong, okay, so in this particular movement, grasping of the bird's tail, it starts on the right, so maybe we should do the right, okay? And we do both sides, but this particular movement is unlike the others because we start moving towards the right rather than the left, okay? So let's do it the right way. Let's do it the way it is in the 10 form, okay? So we're rooted down on the left, and let's just put our foot on a line, okay? So we know that we have good alignment here. So the left foot is on a line, and our right foot is on a T stance. We know that the energy is stored on our left. We know that our right is going to advance, so therefore the right hand has to be 2 inches below your navel. The left hand has to be on top to hold your ball, okay? The energy that you store on your right is now going to be used. T stance. Step out, L. Turn the hips and waist, move the energy, forearm your opponent. So you use your forearm to push the guy out. Then you're going to turn your hips and waist, reposition your hands. And you're going to sit down, sit back, look back, turn at the hips and waist. Contact. Left hand or back hand contacts the right wrist. Turn at the hips and waist, middle of the body, push the energy through. Separate the hands or energy, roll back and sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward, keeping your Tai Chi posture. Sit back, sit down. Twist step. T stance, center with a ball. We're going to take an L stance, but we're not going to move that energy yet, okay? T stance, L stance. Move the energy, turn the hips and waist, ward off your opponent. Turn your hips and waist, reposition your hands, sit down, sit back, turn at the hips and waist. Right hand comes higher, contacts the wrist of the left, turn the hips and waist, push the energy out, separate the energy, roll back and sit down. Come up, lunge forward. Other side, sit back, sit down. Twist step. T stance, hold your ball. L stance, move the energy, forearm your opponent, ward off. Turn your hips and waist, reposition your hands, sit down, sit back, turn at your hips and waist to look back. Bring the back hand to your wrist of the front, turn the hips and waist center of the body, move the energy out, sit down, sit back, up and out. Sit down, sit back, twist step, hold your ball, T stance, L stance, turn the hips and waist, move the energy, forearm your opponent. Turn the hips and waist, reposition as if to grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn again, push, separate, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward. Sit back, sit down, twist step. T stance, hold your ball. L stance, move the energy, turn the hips and waist, bottom hand advances to forearm. Turn the hips and waist, reposition your hands. Sit down, sit back, turn at the hips and waist to look back. Left hand contacts the right at the wrist, turn the hips and waist, center of the body, push the energy through, roll back and sit down, spiral up and lunge forward. Sit back, sit down, twist step, T stance. Let's see if I can not use any words and see whether you can internalize. T stance. T stance, hold your ball. L stance, move the energy, bottom hand, forearms. Turn the hips and waist. Grasp the bird's tail. Turn at the hips and waist. Back hand contacts the front hand. Turn, push in the middle. Roll back, separate, sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward. Sit back, sit down. Twist step. T stance, holding your ball. L stance, move the energy, bottom hand, forearms. Turn hips and waist. Bring down the bird's tail, let you sit down, sit back, look back. Backhand contacts. Move the hips and waist, separate, roll back, sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward. Twist step. Okay, internalize, no talking. Okay, center with the ball. Okay, one time to watch me. So when you watch and when you do, you notice that things don't come very easy. It's not a hand motion, but what we're doing is we're trying to use the energy that we have, that we all have internally, and try to direct the energy. You feel more powerful because you're using your spine and you're getting away from just waving the hand out, bringing the hand back. Something more than that. It's a process that comes through visually watching or auditorily listening, and then intaking that through your mind, your brain, and then making your body move in that direction. So that's what Tai Chi is about. Initially, we all want to get that perfect posture or formation, so we look at what the hands are doing, but that's only a portion of the task, because where the hands go is dependent on what our hips do, what our mind says to do, and how we can move our spine, our core. Okay, so remember that. Okay, so everything that we take in has a place, but the strength is our core and our mind, and that's why Tai Chi can be very powerful. All right, so we've gone over several. We need to still go over a little bit more. Okay, let's come away from cloud hands. We'll leave cloud hands for the next one. Let's repulse the monkey now. Okay, first you watch, okay, and I'll be facing you. So let's do commencing form and repulse the monkey. Let's do two. So we're at 50-50. If you notice now, my butt is not extremely tucked under, because that would make my knees buckle a little, but they are softly loose on the knee and the butt is still tucked under, rather than straight like this. I don't know if you probably can see a difference. This is straight, this is tight, okay? But this is softly tucked, okay? So when it's softly tucked, everything falls in place. The shoulders drop, the curvature of your chest is natural. To keep everything centered and us and you well balanced, the head should be erect. But the head should not be erect so that the chin is parallel to the ground, but slightly dipped down. Slightly dipped down, but the eye vision is still out into infinity, way out, okay? So this is my posture, and my feet are parallel. My feet are not like this or any other way. They're straight, okay? And I'm rooted down, but I feel the 50-50, but I'm not totally weighted heavy, because there's no energy. Nothing has started my process. So my knees are just relaxed. But once I say 60, 70, 80, 90, I'm shifting my weight to the right foot. So now it's 50-50. 60, 70, 80, 90 allows me to get off the ground through my other foot. 100 allows me off completely. I open, shoulder width away, rather than too far, rather than too close. So if I have 90%, 100%, I lift off and I shoulder, toe, toes, arch, and heel, back to 50-50. My hands were here, I slightly rotate, and this guy also, the shoulder comes in. Slightly rotate. I take a deep breath in. I'm wearing my mittens, not my gloves, okay? So my thumbs should be apart from the rest of the fingers. I bring it up to shoulder level. I want to reverse the process. I tuck my elbows rather than leave it flaring, and I drop my shoulders and I flex my knee. So watch again, okay? So good Tai Chi posture, shift weight, 60, 70, 80, 90, shoulder width, 50-50 down, deep breath using my core, elevate to my shoulder, reverse, okay? Now, watch what I do now, okay? So you saw that's pretty good, and that's what I want you to establish, okay? So this is all good, okay? But watch what happens to when I don't engage my core. You see this? It's not right, okay? Because you do it with me. Because all you're doing is waving. All you're doing is going up and down. But in the first few motions that I did, I thought through, I used my core, I used the energy that I had. There's hardly any movement, because why? The shoulders are dropping, the flexing of the knees are just bringing my gravity down, bringing my center down. How did it bring it up? I used my core to bring them up. I used my core and I used the flexing of my knee and the dropping of my shoulders to come down, okay? So that's one. Then when we come down, the left hand stays in the center, the right hand rises. As I glance, I open the palms. I watch that backhand come in. I turn my head and neck. I meet the hands in the middle. This is the meeting. At this point, I slide forward and I slide back. Slide forward, slide back. I skim my waist. The other side, I watch that hand that goes up higher. I open to the ceiling. I glance and bring it to my head or ear. I turn my head and neck. I meet in the center and I slide. Okay, let's try all of that now, okay? Commencing form, so good Tai Chi posture, tucking that butt. Okay, 50-50. Remember now, we don't want too much of this, but we want tucking the butt and just kind of relax knees, but not to the point where energy already initiated the bending, okay? Okay. Commencing form, 50, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, open, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, rotate slightly. Take a deep breath in as we elevate through the core, drawing up that water, shoulder level, reverse the process. Tuck the elbow, drop the shoulders, flex the knee, push down the water. Keep the left hand in the center, right hand glancing at it, raising up higher, open the palms, watch it come to the ear, turn the head and neck, meet the hands in the middle, slide and pull back. Left hand higher, glancing as you raise it, open the palm, bring it to the ear, turn the head and neck, meet the palms in the center, slide. Here's a drill. Glance at the right, open the palm, bring it to the ear, turn the head and neck, meet in the center, repulse of the monkey. Center, higher, glance, open, ear, turn, meet, repulse of the monkey, slide. Center, glance higher, ear, turn, meet, slide. Center, higher, glance, open, ear, turn, meet, slide. We're getting good, so no words. T-stance. We're going to brush our knee. How? All together. Turn hips and waist. Brush your knee. Sit back, sit down. Twist step. We're going to brush our knee. Left hand higher. All together. Turn hips and waist. Brush your knee. Sit back, sit down. Twist step. Hold your ball. We're going to part the wild horse's mane. Step out. Bottom hand advances to go up the horse's mane. Bow stance. Sit back, sit down. Twist step. T stance, holding your ball. L stance. Turn the hips and waist, move the energy, go up the horse's mane. Now brings us cloud hands. Let's practice cloud hands. Flip the forward hand so you no longer see the palm. Join it with the back or left hand and see your palm. Look at your palm. You're at what? 3 o'clock. We want to get out to 9 o'clock. Here we go. We're in a bow stance. Sit back, sit down. Twist step. 12 o'clock. Stem of the left hand and a dangling of our right hand near to our danten, 2 inches below our navel. Our feet look wrong, but they are correct. We want to get out to the 9. We're going to use the left heel and pivot and move ourselves because we are pivoting and turning our hips and waist. Don't worry about the hands. Okay, so we're going to pivot on the left heel, turn our hips and waist. There's 9 o'clock. But 2 things happen. We flip the hands, we close the feet. 9 o'clock, stem, cup, turn the hips and waist to 3 o'clock. 2 things happen. Flip the hands, open the feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. At 9 o'clock, we only flip the hands. Use your hips and waists to get to 12. Use your hips and waists to get to 3, but two things happen. Flip the hands, close the feet. That requires balancing too. 9 o'clock, two things happen. Flip the hands, open the feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. 3 o'clock, only flip the hands, but at 12 o'clock, we're going to spin on our axle, push down the left, pull up the right, and become a golden cockerel. Down, shift the weight, right golden cockerel. Down, 50-50, gather the energy. We're going to kick out with our right hand on the outside, kick out, right. Down, shift the weight, left hand on the outside, left foot coming up, kick out, left. Holding our ball on a T stance, what are we going to do? We're going to the left, to the right to ward off. T stance, L stance, move the energy, bottom hand, forearms your opponent. Turn the hips and waist, reposition your hands, grasp the bird's tail. Sit down, sit back, turn at the hips and waist to look back, backhand contacts, the right wrist, turn the hips and waist, push the energy out, separate the energy, roll back and sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward. Sit back, sit down. Twist step, we're gonna do the other side. Hold your ball, T stance, L stance, move the energy, bottom hand, forearms your opponent. Square to the forward foot, facing the field. Turn the hips and waist, reposition the hands. Sit down, sit back, turn at the hips and waist, look back. Backhand contacts the forward wrist, turn at the hips and waist, center pushes out, separates and roll back and sit down. Spiral up and lunge forward. Those are 9 forms, 9 movements right there. Here's the last. Sit back, sit down. Twist on the left. Open twist on the right. In twist on the right. Embrace the tiger. Right hand inside the cross. I'm going to bend this way so you can see my hands, okay? So it's like this. Right hand inside the cross, in the middle of your body. We want to close our form so the right foot has to come now in. The right foot can come in only if it's weightless, right? So the left foot has to bear all your weight. So once you bring this right hand in to embrace the tiger, this foot flexes even more to get the weight off of that foot to bring it in. You rotate on your wrists. Now the palms are facing you. Bring up the tiger. Bring the tiger closer to you slightly. You still have contact at your wrists. The power of the left wrist now pushes that energy out, allowing you to separate the energy. Now, how do you close? Drop the shoulders, tuck the elbow, flex the knees, let gravity take you up on the heel, off the ground, toe down, 50-50, right where you started. Okay, so good. That wasn't more than 6 minutes maybe, not even 5 minutes where we did everything. We strung all our movements together to get a better sequencing. We had a commencing form, we had a closing form. Okay, closing form for you to watch now, okay? So we warded off and we grasped the bird's tail. Twist step, pivot, open pivot, in pivot, embrace the tiger, right hand on the inside of the cross. Keep it this way. Weight down heavily on that foot because I want this foot to come closer so I can close, then rotate on the wrist. Palms are facing me. I'm bringing my energy up. I bring the energy or the tiger closer to me at chest level. I still have contact. I have force. That left wrist wants to just push that guy away, push the tiger away. Separate my energy. I drop my shoulders, flex my knee, tuck my elbow, let gravity take me home, wrap around slightly, shift my weight so I can allow that foot, that left foot, to now close my form. Okay, and I'm in this stance and I want to come up because I'm all done, all pow. So I just come up slowly, but not to a straight soldier. And this is my posture that I take all the time, or I think I do. So I'm never locked in, okay? And that's the finishing for you, okay? Let's try it, okay? So let's try the ending form first, and then maybe we'll have time for questions, and then maybe do the 10 form again. All right, we're gonna start at grasping of the bird's tail. Grasping of the bird's tail, remember, has 2 sub-movements. The first is warding off, and then you grasp the bird's tail. But out of expediency, the movement is called grasping of the bird's tail. It's never called warding off, but we do it, okay? So we said that unlike all the other movements, we have to go right first, then we go left, and then we can pivot, turn, and close. That's setting it up correctly, okay? So we're on a T stance. Right foot is ready to advance, so therefore right hand is on the bottom, left hand is on the top, holding your ball. And I could never be like this. I need to do Tai Chi. I need to store the energy because I'm going to move the energy. If I'm standing this way, I don't know anything about Tai Chi, and it's going to make me stumble because I have 2 weighted feet. So to advance correctly, I need to weight down on the left to keep my forward foot weightless. T stance, step out, move the energy, bottom hand advances to ward off the opponent. Give me my space. I just need that space. Do not come here. Turn the hips and waist, reposition your hands. Sit down, sit back, turn at the hips and waist to look back. Back hand contacts front hand. Turn the hips and waist, middle of the body, push the energy through. Separate the energy, roll back, and push the guy down. Then push him up and push him out. Sit back, sit down, twist step, T stance, holding your ball, L stance, move the energy, turn the hips and waist, bottom hand, forearms, give me my space, turn hips and waist, reposition hands, sit down, sit back, turn at the hips and waist, backhand, contacts the front, turn the hips and waist, move from the center, push the energy out, separate it, sit down, spiral up and out. Sit back, sit down because we were on a bow stance. Pivot, pivot out, pivot in, embrace the tiger, right hand on the inside, shift the weight to the left foot to allow the right foot to come in, rotate on the wrists so that palms are facing you and bring the tiger closer up to the chest, bring him closer, then push him away, separate the energy. How are we going to close? Drop the shoulders, tuck the elbow, flex the knees. Let gravity take you back to the side, heel up, on the toe, off the ground, toe, arch, heel, closing form. Okay, good job. So this is our seventh lesson. And we're about halfway, and we've accomplished all of the 10 form, and now we did 10 movements, and now we just go back and we learn the sequence, we refine the movement, and over time for that 7 weeks, perhaps our muscle strength, our stamina, our understanding is a little bit clearer, and so we're powerful. We're charged up. We can tackle, we can challenge, keep ourselves challenged, okay? Or undertake things that are more difficult, or what we thought were difficult. We are empowered, okay? So Ken wants to come in, think of any kind of questions, and we still have time to wrap it up.